Well, praise the Lord again, YouTubers. This is today a day that the Lord has made. I'm glad to rejoice in it. Amen. Um, just shouldn't take long. I wasn't going to do a video, but I was on the computer and on my YouTube page, a video showed up. And I realized who this guy was. Jesse Morrell. Now I know your name. Jesse Morrell. He looks and acts better in doing a personal video than he does being a street preacher. I mean, when he does a street preaching, man, I mean, he goes out there in his 1970s suit, you know, um, looking like an old legalistic Baptist preacher from the past, Um, I mean, he just I just think his setup could be a little bit better and how he deals with preaching the gospel on the streets. I think he could be a little bit more have a little more of a ring to it, have a more what do you say? Have more style to it. There you go, style. Put some more style into it. Okay, this is 2017, and I also think that he should bring security with him when he goes out there and preaches the gospel, because this is 2017, and he is the preacher. I mentioned this, I think, in another video. He is the preacher that was attacked by atheists. Tell you no lie. They jumped. He was out there preaching by himself, and I believe they even did this right in front of his wife, because I think his wife was somewhere, because I think she goes with him when he does ministry, or maybe this was one of the videos that he did when he had left to start leaving his wife at home, because people are dangerous out there. They're actually attacking these street preachers. But if you go to Jesse Morrell's channel, and he's called the Open Air Preacher. That's the name of the channel. Open Air Preacher. If you go to his channel, you can look at the videos that he did of him being out there street preaching. And I watched a couple of videos where people actually threw things at him. And there was one video where they actually, it was a big old rock or something. They jumped up on the stage behind him, and they came up behind him, bam, and hit him in the head with a rock. And I'm going to call those people atheists, because it wasn't until they started asking questions, silly questions about, why God is so stupid and and all this kind of stuff, that he got attacked. So I'm assuming the people that attacked him were atheists. He didn't walk around with no big sweatshirts on that say A for atheists on them, but I believe they were atheists. And this is one of the reasons why I don't care to even worry about. I don't let atheists talk to me about my religion. I talk to them about theirs, because they're out of hand. They're out of control. That's another video. But they are out of hand. They're out of control. That's why I don't really care about what you got to say. You're out there doing violence. You're out there, scaring kids. You're out there doing crazy stuff. So, real quickly, let me get off the subject. Before I get off the subject, I don't really care what you think about. I don't give a rat's behind what you think about what I believe about God, or if I believe in God or not, or how stupid that is to you. That didn't keep you from jumping up behind this man and hitting him in the back of his head with a rock. And he had to get stitches in the back of his head. Look it up. Before I get mad, I couldn't be a street preacher. Because if I was to be a street preacher, I would have to carry a gun. And, you come at me, it's going to be like, y'all want to listen? Y'all want to listen or you want to get shot? Okay. I'd get arrested because I pulled a gun or something on everybody. Don't put your hands on people, man. If you don't like what somebody has to say, just like, let's say, and I'm getting off this. I'm getting off the subject. I got to get on point here. But let's say, like if you're in a school, a park, or whatever, you don't go to the park and hang out by the tree. So if a preacher puts up a stage by a tree in the park, or he puts up a stage in the school parlor, these are areas where you're going to walk past and go in, back into school, or you're going to pass through there. Usually you don't hang out there. He's not invading your space by preaching the gospel there, because you usually don't hang out there. You usually walk past and go to some place else. But this is the ignorance of these non-believers today. They will come to listen to you, not to take note of anything you got to say, not to understand. Atheists love to say, well, you can't stand an argument. You don't know how to have a good argument. I ain't never met an atheist yet that wants to have a good argument with me. By the time we have a good argument, that's the part where you hit me in the back of my head with a rock. Now, because you hit me in the back of the head with a rock, I got nothing to say but, cry for help. Now we can have a good argument, because I'm not saying anything. I'm not ticking you off anymore because I'm bleeding. It's crazy. But Jesse Morrell, I didn't know his name until just now. The open air preacher. I know, like he said earlier today, I know that God restrains evil because God restrained me from getting revenge on those that attack me. Those that have threatened me, those that have done evil to me. But my question to you, I don't think I need to even do the whole time signature on this video. I think I'm just going to say what I got to say and move on and take my nap. But if God, let me ask you this: if God doesn't restrain evil, who's restraining it? If God doesn't restrain evil, who's restraining it? Only a childish thinker. A childish thinker. Not a critical thinker. A childish thinker would think that evil is completely restrained by us, humans. That's totally impossible. Because when evil comes, we don't know it's coming. So how can we say that it's us that restrains it when we don't know it's coming? We don't know it's coming. So who's restraining it then? What is the difference between me living years of peace and then all of a sudden the terrorists come in and kill my whole family or my whole church family or my whole community? Wait a minute. Did they not know that I was there earlier? And when the terrorists go into your community, why do they get to rape these women over here and pull them into sexual slavery, but they didn't get these women over here that are in the same community? And I also noticed, I said this in church one time, a lot of people probably disagree with me, but it's true. Why is there a lot of things that happen to you liberals, you pagan people, you people of the world, that don't happen to Christians? See, we restrain evil by obeying the word of God, the very thing that atheists will mock at. But it's the very thing that, to me, restrains evil. If God is not the one restraining evil, who is? Please tell me. Who is restraining evil? You? I don't think you care. Not too long ago, I had a situation where my stepdaughter had broken up with her ex-boyfriend. Her ex-boyfriend went to jail, came home and found out that I had helped her move out for the safety of her own life. I mean, y'all talk about black folks not spending enough time in jail. Here you go. You're right in some cases. I mean, he went to jail and it was like he was out 2 days later. We're like, what's up? You know, they decided not to work on her case yet. But they let him out while they're trying to put her case together. They let him walk. He got out of jail, and when I found out that he got out of jail, I prayed. I called my pastor. I says, please pray, get a prayer chain going for this young man and the safety of my daughters and my grandchildren, because he's on the loose. He's out of prison. He's calling her. He's threatening her on the phone and all these things. So I said, pray. While they were praying, a bunch of things happened. The first one that happened was he showed up at the hospital when the last child was being born. And we didn't mind that because it is, it's his child. And, even though he's a criminal, we don't wish, you being isolated from your children. We don't wish that on our worst enemy. So, we let him come to the hospital. He started his mess at the hospital. And security had to be called. We had to remind security that this man had a restraining order, okay, against him. And it just so happened, though, that she left the restraining order at home in her old purse. She didn't bring it to the hospital with her. So they had to let him hang out with us at the hospital, and he was following us around, and he was like, "Why y'all whispering about me?" and all this kind of stuff. And my stepdaughter was letting him preach some, mumble jumble to her, and I told her, I just simply said, we had an agreement. You wanted my help. You got me praying for you. You got me investing my money into this and everything else. I says, it's over. Okay. If you think it's safe for you to be here alone with him, I'll leave the hospital. And anybody else that wants to leave with me. And you can, and of course that made him mad, but I didn't, I felt, everybody understands it's over between you and her. So come visit your child and just say goodbye, man. Don't try to like get back into her life because you're not going to do anything but abuse her. It's over. And I made it very clear to everybody, including him. It's over. I said, you're not good enough for my daughter. This guy's 6 feet tall and muscular, practices MMA and all that stuff, I took some karate lessons myself, but I wasn't going to get into a fight with this guy. My asthma ain't going to let me do that. But he decided to calm down and walk me to my car. And I knew he was lying because I ain't never seen that boy drive a car. So I knew he was lying when he said, "Oh, I'm parked out back," and then he decided to change the story when he seen that I was parked out front. He decided, "Oh, no, you know what? Actually, I think I'm parked out here." And I'm thinking, is there an out back parking in the first place? So he's following me. I got my older daughter with me. He's following us. And we're, as soon as we got like off out of the wing where my stepdaughter was having her baby and we got down on the exit level, he started getting louder and louder and louder. He was trying to set up a fight. And I called security. And he pretended that when I called security, that, oh, he was scared. He was going to go outside and, he was just going to leave. Well, no, actually, he went outside. He was waiting on me. This guy was going to attack me right in front of my daughter. Okay. Knowing that he will definitely be restrained from the hospital if he attacks me. Was already let security know that this guy was a danger. So we let him walk ahead of us, and me and my daughter, because I'm thinking about, I'm protecting my daughter because this same guy already called my house and told me, start making these gangster threats at me. About, you got two other daughters. I'm like, what's that got to do with anything? You threatening my whole family now? He just started making threats at me and stuff, and when I got outside, I seen him walking the opposite direction, like down the hill. They wouldn't even let him wait for his mama to pick him up. And my car was right there. And I mean, I really squeezed into that spot. Because I didn't want to, it was cold outside that night, I think, and I did not want to walk, a whole 4 blocks or something to get to the hospital. So I really squeezed in that spot. Well, now we had been in the hospital for a couple hours or so, and now it was like that spot was all opened up and everything, The circle of events that happened, everything from him calling my house, showing up to my house. I was crazy enough to let him in, worried about whether this man had a gun in his back pocket or what. So he couldn't get me at the hospital. And when I moved my stepdaughter, I made sure she lived. I got her to accept a place right there, right down where I live at, so I could actually look out my window and check on her house. And God, I'm gonna say God worked that out, because that don't come easy. But that place just happened to be empty. Okay, so we put her in there, and all the grandkids. The baby's born. I'm thinking it's over. He calls again. I said, "Why'd you answer the phone?" Calls again. He wants to see. He's. I says, I told her he's trying to act like he wants to see the kid. I said, you know good and well that man ain't worried about that kid. But we had to be nice, so I even picked him up and went down to the notary for him to sign papers for his kid and everything. Extended my hospitality to him. Okay. Um, he shows up at my house. He threatens me. He's pacing the floor in my house like a madman, yelling and screaming. And I'm thinking, okay, that machete's over there. I hope he don't see it. I see where it's at. I'm thinking if something go crazy up in here, what am I gonna do? Um, but what finally happened was I had me and my youngest daughter. We were spending a lot of time over my stepdaughter's house because we wanted to protect her, you know. And he came over to see, to pick up the baby, his newborn son. And we made sure we were there. He became extremely angry the minute he seen me walking the baby and the grandkids to the car. I mean, he became extremely angry. I mean, he was kicking a dash. I mean, he was mad. We could see it a mile away before we got to the car. He was angry. He was extremely angry. He thought he was going to come there, and I was finally out of the way. He was going to come there, and he was going to get his last hit in, or he was going to threaten her into letting him move back in with her, or whatever. And I told her, I'm going to be there. Make sure you set the time when he's supposed to show. Give me time to get there before he gets there. And we did. We were there, and he got there, and we walked everybody out to the car. He didn't even get to see my stepdaughter. He was fuming. And he got so mad that he came by 2 nights later and threw a brick through the window. The brick come through the window right across, just missing his newborn son, and went through the window, passing his newborn son. I mean, the glass and everything was just like layer around his newborn son and everything. I mean, they showed me the crime scene, okay? Um, you know, the brick came in and smashed, and I think he threw more than one of them. But the first brick came in and just missed his son, and then he threw another one and smashed a bunch of stuff. Somehow he got into the house. He came in one door. My stepdaughter ran out the other. And she ran over my ex-wife's house, her mom's house, who happened to live a few doors down. Funny how that all comes together like that is my point. and she locked herself in there, and the neighbor next door, she was separated from her husband too. But her husband happened to be there that day, that night that he did this. And he came over there to make sure everybody got out of the house safe. He knew he didn't want to put his hands on the dude because then they would flip that around and make it like a black on black thing, you know. But he just made sure everybody got out of there safe. He wasn't going to let nobody put their hands on my daughter and my grandkids. Okay. So my point is, do you think it was just what? It was just a coincidence that I happened to be at the hospital that day? It was just a coincidence that I came back into my stepdaughter's life around this drastic measure she was in at that time. And I was able to be in her life at that time. Is it just a coincidence that I happened to be parked where I was parked at the hospital, that security did their job at the hospital? Is it just a coincidence that that brick came through that window and did not harm that child or any of the other kids? Is it just a coincidence that everybody was able to get out of that house alive? Is it just a coincidence that this loser is in jail right now? And by the time he gets out of jail, the last thing on his mind is going to be my daughter. Because he's got all kinds of mess that are holding him in there. Not just my daughter, but other things too. If God isn't restraining evil, who is? Because evil is being restrained. I know what you think. You're thinking that you're just, and this is why you're in no position to talk about God or judge a Christian or judge the Bible or anything, because you're assuming that if God is real, he would do things the way you would do them. But how much evil have you done in this world? How much evil have you restrained when it was in your power to restrain it? How many fights have you watched? Okay, instead of breaking them up. How many times were you willing to go out there and take a beating for somebody else? You want God to restrain things completely. You want God to give you heaven on earth. I said this in another video. It's not going to happen that way, because immortality is what we're supposed to be starving for. It's not going to happen that way because evil exposes good. And if we don't have evil, then we don't have anything of which to know what is good. Job said very clearly. He says, though he slay me, I will not deny him. I will still trust in him. He says, shall we accept only good from God and not adversity? Adversity must be in its place here on this planet so that we seek another. Adversity must have its place and have its deeds in this life so that we seek a better life. But do you think you've restrained enough evil in your life? Not only in your little wicked life and how you abused yourself, but what about the life of your kids, the life of your wife, the life of your brothers and sisters, your fellow atheists, your fellow Muslims, your best friends, whatever group you hang out with, your fellow Democrats. Have you restrained evil? Or do you just want, or are you looking for God to give you something you don't deserve? You don't deserve heaven on earth. Last I checked, heaven on earth requires that we make the sacrifice of following God and His plan for our lives. You say that you don't believe. You say that this is a lie. But yet you want to ask the question, why does God allow evil? God restrains evil every day. If God did not restrain evil, there would be no black folks. Because y'all know many, many moons ago, y'all was just, you know, this country, the people of this country was just out to kill us. They did not want us. You know, the events that led to us in the predicament that we're in today. Many people didn't want that to happen. The, the black race would be even smaller than what it is. The white race would be smaller than what it is. If God did not restrain evil, this world would be a mess. If God did not restrain evil, America would not be America. If God did not restrain evil, all of us would just be, we would be strapped and loaded and pointed at our neighbor 24 hours a day. Because every hour, every minute, every second, there are those that want to harm you. There are those that want to destroy you. There are those that want to take away from you. They want to steal off of you. They want to take what is yours. There are those that are jealous of you. If God did not restrain evil, who did? Who did? That's the question. If God isn't restraining evil, who is? Who's restraining evil? Because obviously evil is being restrained. When you think about how many people hate you, when you think about how many people you hate, when you think about how easy it would be for you to punch certain people, or for you to, or the things that you would do if there were no police because of your worldview. And I've been hearing that worldview on my channel. People coming to my channel let me know that no matter how nice I try to be, they don't like me. I'm glad that I don't live in their neighborhood. I'm glad that they're not my next door neighbor. Is it a coincidence that they're not? Or is it because God does restrain evil? It's a dumb question to say, why doesn't God restrain evil? God does restrain evil. That's why you haven't killed me yet. That's why you haven't forced me to defend myself yet and kill you. If you do not realize, you want to give the secular world all the credit, you want to give science all the credit, but you do not realize the only person that has ever really won at restraining evil is God. Because when we think that we're restraining evil, we only restrain evil for a moment. Give it a couple days, and it comes right back. Okay? People think they restrain evil by putting people in jail. People go in jail and do evil. And then evil has to be restrained within the prison. They get out of jail and do it all over again. Come on, man. Come on. If God isn't restraining evil, who is? Not me and not you. God bless you. I love you. I really do. Because why? Because God is restraining evil. That's why I'm able to love you and forgive you. Talk to you later.